Hello, Merriam. It is 6:57 Central Time. Today is June 1st, 2026, and we are at Higdon and Hale for the Merriam Drainage Board meeting.
Sun City, yeah, we play those all over the place.
I did lots in San Antonio.
There's a barbecue in Austin, in San Antonio, Salt Barbecue.
There's, what's his name, Black's Barbecue too, that's like real famous, that's down there. We didn't get to do anything, we just drove really fast all the way down there, played the show, and then came back in one day. That was a long drive.
That's our drive.
Yeah, cause somebody had to be back here the next night for a gig, so we had to get up and drive all the way back in one day. Which, I mean, it's not that bad. I do that all, like, driving like that is, I enjoy driving, so a 12-hour drive to me is like awesome. Most people know. Most people are like, I'm in the car for 6 hours, I gotta get out of here. And I will officially be quiet.
Grand Forks, North Dakota, Minnesota, which is right by the Canadian border. Going up there, one of the young kids was over there letting him drive, he goes, all right, well, I've never been there before, how do I know what if I get there? I said, well, if you get to the border crossing, you've overshot by about 60 miles. Just turn around and go back the other way.
And they'll stop you.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go to sleep,
They're
I'm
not
gonna
gonna-
go to sleep. So if we get to
Read the big
Canada,
green sign.
he goes, if we get to Canada, we're not that far lost. We're only about 60 miles.
Right.
Welcome to Canada, so 40-minute mistake, 20-minute mistake, something like that.
Yeah. Did you ever see, I can't even think about it. Canada, who's up there, they go up there and they're basically declare war on Canada. And then Dan Aykroyd pulls them over and they've got all these sayings on the side of the garbage truck he's driving. He goes, now, it's Canada. I go, I'm sorry about the language. He goes, no, you have it in English, you gotta put it in French too. So he had to spray paint the truck in French with all of the.
Excuse me. All right, welcome everybody to our monthly meeting. And then we go ahead and get started. First thing on the agenda is approval of the May 4, 2016 meeting minutes. Any concerns?
Good.
I'll make a motion to approve those. I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll turn it over to Steve.
So I sent, each of you should have received a link where you were able to download the documents that the Corps has provided. In the email, I alluded to why they're calling 65% plans now 50% plans. That has to do with the bridge plans. Apparently, the set of drawings that the Corps has provided for the improvements along the creek are considered 65%. The plans that they provided for the Merriam Drive and Johnson Drive Bridge are considered 30%. So in the Corps' mind, this is a 50% submittal and not a 65% submittal. Which hopefully sounded better than it would have had I written it all down. In any event. I have started looking at the plans, but haven't gone all the way through them or provided the city any comments at this point. My main items that I have looked at was to confirm the property removals matched the most recent submittal that we got from the Corps. And to the best of my knowledge, they do. So there haven't been any new updates in that area. I started looking at where they provided access to the creek so we could continue to maintain the channel as we have in the past after these improvements are constructed as we currently do. And then, what was the third thing? Oh, I did look at that kind of waterfall that is south of Johnson Drive to see if they did anything to stabilize that area, and they have not. So as we start talking about budget for next year, that would be a topic for discussion.
Was that made known to the Corps then, that we would appreciate any contribution on their end with that?
I haven't, I did ask Kaylee, again regarding the question of how, what their analysis was regarding how these improvements impact areas downstream. I bumped her again late last week, I didn't receive a response by the time I came over here, but I would anticipate they could at least answer it by the 8th, if not before. So that's kind of my summary on the plans themselves. I also realized that you guys probably don't have a printer that will do 11 by 17, so if you wanted a copy,
We can do it, but if you need something, we might.
it's like 70 pages.
I could get it to download, but I'll bother you about that later.
I don't give you a hard copy.
Okay. Okay.
I can look at it on the computer screen.
Okay, all right. And then I have not even started to look at the design documentation report, as it's 1,000 pages in length. I assume we'll get to that at some point later on. I was gonna focus mainly on the plans. So that's
On 50% plan?
50%, that's right, not 65, it's 50%. That's all I have on the core project. Is there any other questions? Or areas that you would like me to focus on in my review, or?
The current project stops at the Merriam Drive Bridge.
Just immediately downstream of
So, yeah, you know, that's already where the flooding problem is. In 25, it didn't flood in the historic area from Johnson Drive to that bridge. It flooded way north of there, you know, down to the railroad bridge. Actually, the railroad bridge is the bottleneck, is the main problem. And I think that you should address that before any upstream in the historic area is done, they need to figure out what's going on with the flooding north of there, because it flooded in 25 only by that bridge in the water, the railroad bridge. I don't want anybody to confuse the Merriam Drive Bridge with the railroad bridge. It didn't flood there, it flooded down by the railroad bridge up north. So if anybody's gonna do anything, they need to be looking at that before they look at anything else.
Okay. I'll share that. Okay. And as I said before, or as I started to say, I have begun to look at a budget for next year. It looks pretty similar to last year without any capital improvements until we try to figure out what direction we're gonna get from the board, maybe all the adjustments. This is the best way to say that. And cut that about in half, just because we've been capturing a lot of the reasons and reporting the problem for the wall repairs. Trees and spraying, I didn't include any funding for that. We did a pretty large chunk of work on clearing trees along the channel this past year, and we should be good for at least another year on that. Cleaning the ditch along the trail just north of Johnson Drive is just always going to be an area where we need to get in there and clean that out. And then I included funding for capturing ground bugs.
So the, that section that goes across just north of Kendall Park, is that gonna be, are we gonna factor that in here also? That's the one that we were talking about earlier.
Yes, I need to sit down with our structural engineer and come up with a better cost estimate on what that would be.
And I mean, that's something that you're thinking about for 27.
Correct. That would be something that I would recommend.
Okay. And just a side note, John, are we looking at trying to encumber tonight?
We would want to encumber, and I didn't read up there, just the balance of what we had owed on Max Reiki for what we approved last month.
Okay.
Um,
So any new CIP projects?
We would need, we've got plenty of budget authority in 2026 and 27 to do that. We don't need to go back to 25 for anything. The only one were the projects we committed to in 25
Okay.
to get those encumbered.
All right. So we can do that. July.
Okay.
Moving on, yeah, I mean, I'll jump to the budget part of there, that we'll have plenty of, you know, just a precursor to that meeting that I'm working on. We'll get the valuations on the steel part of my report and pronouncement, we'll talk about budget in a moment. We'll get valuations here in a couple of weeks, June 15th. From there, we can figure out what the valuation would be for the revenue neutral rate. We know what the dollar amount's gonna be on it. It should be the same as last year, that we've got there. The legislature made no changes to the budget, budget laws or anything for the past year, so they're still the same on there. The only thing to, you know, consider is, one thing with the revenue neutral rate is there's no, it's the same amount of dollars as the prior year, so there's no impact for inflation or anything in other costs or anything that we're picking up with the increase in assessed valuations. And we've been flat on our revenues for about 4 or 5 years after this. And so, at some point, it'll start to get behind based upon just naturally increasing costs. Last couple of years, we haven't done anything major just because of the uncertainty of when stuff's gonna happen with the core project. So we have plenty of budget availability, but we still have the funds that are available that we carried over to do the project. I don't know what Steve's, you know, ballpark looking at or anything. From that, but we can address that in July. So that would be the one thing to think about, that, you know, as you put your thoughts together for the July, meeting is, between revenue neutral and keeping the same revenue. At some point, we'll start to fall behind, not keeping up with the inflation. Been fortunate, the past couple of years, we haven't had to spend a lot of money on, it's all deferred, sitting out there. Doesn't mean it went away, it just deferred while we're waiting until the Corps to get their project figured out, from there. So that'd be my thought, you know, really, as we talk about the budget. The other costs that we have, the admin, salaries and stuff, aren't gonna change substantially year over year. It's the mowing, insurance, board salaries and stuff, those are fairly constant, over the years. The one variable will be what the, capital improvement projects were that we haven't had to do in the past, that we have a major project coming up in 2027, to look at. Last year was kind of the biggest one we've done. This year with, the rock removal of the trees and stuff like that, the biggest part that we spent, over the past several years.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Question?
No.
We're gonna go ahead and,
We're gonna request to be at the very end and let you
Okay.
do the rest of your business first.
Okay.
If that's okay. We don't let you get through your regular meeting. Thank you.
Jim?
I don't have anything to report.
And John, do you have anything?
Just overall, just kind of a quick on the budget calendar, where we're at is we'll meet in July. We'll have the assessed valuations off, preliminary budget, for our basic, you know, kind of the nuts and bolts and stuff put together at that point. Then we'll look at what our fund balances are and our capital projects that we've got. And so, what we'll want to do at the July meeting is come away from that, because we're so early in the month with our meetings there, to meet the calendar, publications, we'd have to at least set a, mill levy, the maximum amount of expenditures It doesn't have to be at that meeting. It could all be all the way up to the August meeting before we do that. We just have to have our budget hearing, 10 days prior to August the 5th, or August 15th. So the latest we could have is August the 5th would be our budget hearing. If you do exceed the revenue neutral rate, then that pushes the state calendar back, and the earliest that you can have your budget hearing based upon the state calendar, if you exceed revenue neutral, is August the 20th. So there's a separate calendar that they go by because there's additional notices, notifications that go out to the taxpayers based upon whether you're gonna exceed the revenue neutral rate or not. So that'll be something to discuss, whether we get there. I'm not advocating one way or the other, so I'm just throwing it out there for discussion on there that, what to consider and what our future, costs are gonna be, down the road. To do that. So we can give that, there's plenty of time to do that, because we'll have, like I said, evaluations are the key. Evaluations I get in June, we give the revenue amounts. We'll have the estimate, we've already got the estimate on the motor vehicle tax, outside motor vehicle tax, and real estate taxes, that's our sources of income that we've got, so those will be fixed at that point, and then, that's just then the board's discussion over what the policy will be on, maintaining the revenue neutral or, raising it up. And I'm not sure, I haven't got a good feel, I've been doing a little bit of what the overall increase, in the valuation of the district would be, what it is for Merriam, I don't know. I just haven't looked it up yet. They've slowed substantially from where they were in prior years for around the northeast Johnson County area. So, I don't wanna say it's probably about 5 or 6% versus some of the years we've been 10 plus, that we're not gonna have that. But again, that only matters if you're gonna keep the same mill levy and it's gone up, then we would exceed the revenue neutral rate. Otherwise, lower the mill levy will decrease to levy the same amount of tax. That again, assuming that the valuation goes up, our mill levy will drop slightly to then generate the same amount of tax.
Any questions?
Everybody have a chance to take a look at the bills? Any concern? Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the bills as presented for payment. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Yes.
I haven't corresponded with them since the last meeting.
Do you need to add like the agenda? You put it right in, so that you close the meeting. Is that okay? Okay. I didn't know, there's not even an item left for like the agenda.
Same agenda every month, so.
For sure, yeah. Yep.
Hey, John, can we do this with you again?
Yeah.
For a sale?
Yeah, he came and picked it up. So it disappeared from my phone, I guess
He did not email me, so I'm guessing he
he
did.
got it there, somebody got it.
You did.
Yes, sir.
Are you ready? Any new business? There being any new business, that pretty much concludes our portion of the monthly meeting.
You know, I had one of, and I just don't have all my notes. Did we do compensation last year? I know we're looking at that every 2 years.
We did.
We did.
So that's what I thought it was last year, so. picture that that was.
Do we need to close this budget hearing now? Or not budget hearing, meeting?
I would consider this actually still part of the meeting.
Still part of the meeting.
Okay.
Are we okay to switch boards?
I'm good on my end. If you are, we're done with our.
Okay, perfect. Okay, we're gonna get the questions kind of set up here. Give us just a second.
Kara, you mentioned you would have a transcript of this.
We can,
Is that
yeah.
something you can share? with me so I don't
Absolutely.
miss all the
Absolutely.
details?
Yep.
Thank you. No, I'm gonna take notes, but I'm not getting all the notes.
They'll probably post the videos and you can listen to it.
Yes, we will definitely send you a transcript, that we will have that. All right, well, thank you all for letting us come and speak at your meeting tonight. Wanted to introduce myself and then my colleague Scout, and then read a little statement, and then we'll kind of get into our questions. My name is Kara Elbert, and I work for Shockey Consulting. We are leading the Downtown Merriam Master Plan, and so as part of this process, we are doing these stakeholder interviews with different groups to hear kind of different perspectives on what you all think about downtown Merriam and maybe what the future could look like down there. I've been with Shockey for a couple of years and have worked in local government my entire career, so excited to be leading the engagement on this project. And then my colleague Scout is with me to help.
Hi, my name is Scout Frame. Excuse me, I've been at Shockey for a year and I am public engagement support on this, so I'm happy to be here and happy to hear what you guys have to say.
Perfect. So I'm just gonna read this little statement before we get started, and we will get into our stakeholder interview, if that sounds good to everyone else. So again, thank you for your time for the conversation. We wanna make clear about how we're handling the information that you're sharing with us. Everything you tell us today is non-attributed, which means that everything that we're hearing is gonna help inform our analysis, but we won't be attaching any names to anything specific that you all say in our reports or presentations. We may quote themes like business owners said or several stakeholders noted, but we won't be naming you. If at any point you'd like to say something on the record and be quoted as part of something that could be in a presentation or part of the plan, we'll reach out to you and get your written consent to do that. Nothing has been decided at this point. We're just listening. We're at the beginning of our process. Well, we started this about March, and so we're still kind of in the discovery and the early engagement phase of the process. So we're here essentially to listen to your perspectives and understand what you all think. Do you have any questions before we get started? Okay, perfect. So I have the questions up here so I don't have to like repeat them constantly. So we introduced ourselves. If you guys wouldn't mind going around the table, it doesn't matter which side that we start on. Tell us a little bit about yourself and the connection to downtown Merriam. I also wanted to repeat, we're recording and transcribing this just for note-taking purposes, so we can share that with you all after the meeting, so that you have that. But who wants to start?
I'll start.
Sure.
Eric Jackson, chairman of the board. I've been on the board since 17. And I'm not directly impacted by the downtown project, but I've been involved.
Sure. Do you have anything to share in terms of your connection to downtown, or is it just through serving on this board?
Just serving on the board.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
My name's Dan Lee. I'm Secretary of Drainage Board, and we are definitely concerned about what's happening downtown. We've been talking to our engineer Steve, getting information. He's been gathering information from the Corps, and we are. You know, I'm deeply concerned because I own property down there, and so I'm doubly concerned because the drainage board and because I'm a property owner.
Sure. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Jeff Weisbender, treasurer of the board, and I don't live too far off of downtown, so 2 blocks. So it would impact me a little bit if something was going on down there, but I think what I'm most concerned with is the perceived lack of transparency of what the city is planning on doing or going to do with the public and especially with the board. So that's my perception. So that's the concern that I have.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. Nice to meet you.
I'm Jim Ward, and I'm the attorney for the Drainage District, and I don't live in Merriam, although I do occasionally have some business transactions in downtown Merriam, do business with some of the entities there.
Thank you.
John Martin, I'm a CPA with Higdon and Hale CPAs. I provide the board with their accounting and annual budget support. I guess my concern, if you look at there, is you look at what these plans are and helping to advise the board in the long term of what are the costs gonna be with anything that is done in the project and how that impacts the financial impact of the board. And obviously, we get our money from taxes, so that's our only source of money. And so, as we look at those items on there would be what my concern would be to help advise the board, what our cost structures might be. Is this project go forward? Are we gonna be asked to, support more costs than what we're associated with this doing right now, based upon what the core project is, just so we can start to, long-term plan for our budgets. We've been kind of in a stuck past couple of years, year to year, as this project goes through, just doing what's needed to keep things going and have some deferred projects that are out there that, at some point need to be addressed, either with or without the core. Steve's comments there, with or without this
Stealing your
project, there's
thunder.
stuff that needs to get done.
Great. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So Steve Roth, I'm a consulting engineer with Finish, but I've served in this role as on-call engineer to the Merriam Drainage District for roughly 15 years.
Lots of history then.
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as what my concerns are would be how changes in the downtown area would impact the creek, would impact the district's ability to maintain the creek, to be able to do the work, as John was hinting at, for roughly the same cost, that we were able to do it before. So if there were items that made access more difficult, those would be the sorts of things that I'd be concerned about.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Rebecca Ewell, just the recording secretary for the district. I don't really have any questions, so I don't have any connection with downtown Merriam.
Sure. I just wanted to make a statement before we go any further. I know I kind of glossed over this, but no decisions have been made. We're just listening, we're asking questions, we're getting perspective. So just so we're all on the same page, that's kind of where we're at in the planning process. So just didn't want anyone to jump to a conclusion because we're definitely not even there yet. So just wanted to reiterate that. Some of the bullet points under that first question, and these we can kind of popcorn back and forth. This doesn't have to go around robin if anyone has anything to say. But what are things that bring you downtown today, currently? And then thinking about the role of downtown, how does it play in your life, in your work? So I've heard a little bit about that. Does anyone kind of want to expand upon that? You wouldn't mind?
Sure, I'll go.
Sure.
So, the Johns County, repair is where I get my car fixed. True Auto Parts, where I buy auto parts if I need to fix it myself. Cherry Jimenez got the best Mexican food. They're right there.
You've heard about that.
Strips is good, for chicken.
And what is the store that you own again? The Guitar?
Guitar Lamp,
That's what I thought. Okay. And how long have you been at that location?
26 years.
Okay.
And my parents own the building across the street, and we rent it to a girl that makes t-shirts and sells home stuff.
Awesome. Thank you. Anybody else have, how do you go downtown today and, thinking about, what role downtown plays in your life or your work? Anybody?
anybody has any comments, feedback?
I don't have anything directly there, other than I've got several clients that I serve that have businesses along, Merriam Drive down there, Merriam Lane, that would be significantly impacted, by this in their locations, what happens there. There, so that's kind of just, outside of my drainage district, help there is just my other client, work there and what those, impact would be on those, as Dan was saying, all the small businesses and stuff there that have been clients for years of how they would be impacted by this.
Okay.
And I do I go use True Auto Parts as well when I need stuff for cars or painting, and then, I like Mustangs and more, I've had to do some work on my car. Total Comfort, the HVAC company there that Dan's family owns, that the building is no longer Total Comfort, but the business is still viable.
Sure.
And then, of course, the couple of restaurants there, but my question is, I kind of think a little more attention should be put on the railroad crossing and the railroad bridge than the downtown Merriam. The railroad crossing affects tens of thousands of people every day with the backing up to traffic, and I mean, there's times where it's all the way up to the top of the hill at Johnson Drive and all the way past Antioch when you get the double train, because sometimes literally a train goes by and there's a 30-second break and another train goes the other way, so you're stuck there for 10 minutes or 15 minutes in rush hour traffic. There's gotta be a better solution than that in 2026. I think a lot more attention should be focused on that than a potential flood problem that would affect a few hundred people maybe. That really isn't the problem, isn't where the city is, where the problem is downstream, where the railroad bridge is, if I'm not mistaken. Would you agree, Steve? That's the pinch point.
That is a good point.
So I think maybe some more focus on that, something that affects tens of thousands of people on a daily basis versus, again, my perceived lack of transparency on the true purpose for what they're wanting to do there.
Sure. Thank you. It's good feedback. Anybody else have anything to share on any of those couple first intro bullet points? Otherwise, I'll go on to the next question that's listed up here. How would you describe downtown Merriam today, and what are the biggest changes that you've seen in recent years? And then there's kind of a couple follow-up questions. What do you think works well? What's the first thing that you'd want to fix? And who or what drove these changes? So you can take a bite at any of those questions, just trying to kind of get your perspective on what you think the biggest changes have been in recent years.
Really haven't been many major changes that I've seen. Have you?
No?
Did they change the configuration where you had on-street parking before, didn't?
So, yeah, that was like,
Is that the last?
I wanna say that was like 24 years ago. There was 2 lanes.
I better remember
There
the-
was 2 lanes going
Oh,
each
yeah.
way in the historic area.
Sure.
And then they narrowed it where there was 1 lane each way and a turn lane.
And then what, 4 or 5 years ago when they fixed the Johnson Drive Bridge? When they did that?
Someone shake their head, yep.
Jim, you were around when they did that, right?
Oh, yeah, I think it was a while ago.
Maybe 5 or 6 years, 8 years?
No, it's more than that.
Was it closer to 20?
Yeah, closer to 20, yeah.
Time flies.
Oh, I think it was like 2008, 2010, kind of post-recession. The only reason I'm saying that is that the city was in kind of a budget pinch, and the drainage district was able to join forces, kind of joint venture, some repairs on the footings of the bridge, which had an impact both on the property of the drainage district and the integrity of the creek and the upper infrastructure and making sure the traffic could flow freely. So, I think everybody, the consensus was a really, not just defensible, a really smart idea, pooling financial resources and to achieve a mutually agreeable result. And those kind of partnerships, if you will, I think if they're done properly, are allow you to leverage financial resources, human resources, and they usually result in a good end product, but in one that is not even remotely politically controversial because it's so commonsensical.
Great. Perfect, thank you.
Community center was some.
Yeah,
Mhm.
community center.
Yeah, just.
That was
It's-
fairly
it's
recent,
absence,
yeah.
being moved.
How do you guys perceive with that not being downtown anymore? How does it impact downtown?
Well, I think it's changed the makeup. I guess there's pros and cons, but, I'm not sure what, that area's gonna be used for, or hasn't been used for.
Right.
I don't know. Well, they do have the car show.
Yeah, parking for the car show
Is that really
is
good?
about the
Yeah,
main use for it that I've seen.
Right. Minimal.
okay, so not a ton of changes. I mean, these changes that we're talking about aren't like within the past couple of years, it's been over a period of time, right? Okay, so the next section of questions are talking about vision and aspiration. So if this planning process is done correctly and the city's following through with, based on what we're hearing from the public, based on what, information that they're, researching, the engineers are doing their jobs, everything's working together to go in the right direction. What do you all think downtown Merriam will look like in 10 years? Or what do you hope it'll look like in 10 years? What are things that you would like to see when you're downtown or hear when you're downtown, that maybe you don't experience currently? Or, who would be here that maybe isn't visiting downtown currently as it is? What do you guys, this is, we're, like I said, we're towards the beginning part of this, engagement process for this plan, so this is the time to kind of think big about what we would, want it to look like in the future. Things can always be dialed back, but, this is the opportunity to let us know what you think.
I'd like to see the historic part, Johnson Drive north to the Merriam Drive Bridge, or Merriam Hardware, you might say, stay pretty much the same. All these other cities are tearing down old buildings to put up generic crap. And, I like that, I think the historic part should stay the same. And I also think that on your guys' survey, there's this or this, but there's no option to just leave it the same.
Sure.
So I think your company needs to fix that, because
We have
the
got that
survey is
feedback.
misleading the public.
Thank you for that comment. What do we want downtown to look or feel like in 10 years? What are things that we want to experience downtown that maybe we're not currently? And that doesn't necessarily mean totally throw it out. I mean, this is, maybe we want to, like you said, keep the historic integrity and maybe expand upon that. Or what do you guys think?
I think you could probably improve, flood mitigation. And that's what our board is. We're not here to beautify,
Sure.
so
Yeah,
that's why we're here.
sure.
I think there's definitely room for some improvement, but like scrapping it and building a whole new downtown is not, in my opinion. I wouldn't wanna see a bunch of over-under type stuff, where the
Yeah.
business is on the bottom and apartments on the top. I think there's plenty of stuff you can do to beautify it and make it more inviting, and that would all depend on the businesses you can attract, because whatever you put in there that's what's gonna bring the people, right? Is it something that people wanna do or a place they wanna go? That's the hard question. Is what are you gonna put in there to bring the people?
Are there certain kinds of businesses that you think we should hopefully have in the future once this planning process is done?
Everybody has to eat.
Right,
Good restaurants are a good place to start. Attractions that people want, maybe something with some kind of live music, something like that.
Like an outside kind of.
And some kind of outdoor something. Yeah.
Perfect. Does anyone else have thoughts on anything like that?
That seems to be the hot thing right now is some kind of outdoor event space. All the cities are putting those up, and everybody is having live music during the week in the spring, summer months. I mean, even the new one over here on Shawnee Mission Parkway has an outdoor event space, something like that. Summer Parks, arts program with the stage, you know, that could even be something they could put that where their community center was. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
But, you know, it just depends on what you put in there. That's the question, right?
Right. Perfect. Does anyone else have thoughts on what we want downtown Merriam to look like in 10 years? Otherwise, I'm gonna skip to the next set of questions. Okay. So, what makes downtown Merriam different and distinct from other nearby communities? And are there places Merriam should look to for ideas? What should Merriam build on rather than copy? Or why should people come intentionally down here? What should people intentionally do? So, what do we like about downtown and what do we need to, or maybe what do we like about another downtown that we think would work really well in downtown area? I heard, you know, music venues and community spaces. Is that kind of a consensus amongst the group? Is that something that we would wanna bring downtown?
I like the access, the trail nearby to get you close downtown.
Sure.
I think the trail gets used quite a bit by the public, so.
Perfect. Are there any other nearby communities that you guys really like there downtown? That you think that's something that could be replicated or something similar to?
I think it's just, outside their downtown Shawnee, what they've trying to incorporate their historic buildings and stuff, yeah, that area. Johnson Drive and Eden over here in that stretch.
And they emphasize food and entertainment too.
Right.
That's what we're trying to say.
Right,
It's not outdoor space, but they
sure.
have several restaurants in the Aztec Theater. They kept the character, they
Definitely, that's good.
Yeah, and they have access to grades and things, civic things.
Shawnee Town and those kind of things there.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Okay, we're gonna talk about Turkey Creek and flood risk. Turkey Creek and flood risk are obviously major factors in the downtown's future. How does this affect the way that you think about redevelopment and investment? Does flood risk feel like a major barrier or something that the community can work through? What would need to happen for you to feel confident about downtown's future?
Well, that's kind of why we're here.
Right?
Yeah, that's what we
Right?
do.
That's what we do.
Right? Absolutely.
So the railroad bridge down in Waterfall Park is a major concern.
Can you expand upon that a little bit?
Well, that's where the area that flooded was way north of the historic area, down in Waterfall Park by the railroad bridge, so that needs looked at before anything else.
That's,
And we can't do anything about it, cause the railroad has it, and I don't think the city can either.
no. Just say no.
Well, they're the experts, it's just the federal.
So,
Yeah.
somebody needs to be talking to the railroad.
They are part of our technical group that we're meeting with. There's someone from the railroad and Evergy and, the Army Corps. There's a bunch of different technical, people that are in that group. So we'll ask them kind of those specific questions.
And the overflow also goes over the highway periodically when there's a hard rain. So I-35 has been impacted. That might be a
Did you
good.
guys get a lot of rain last night? Or is that up north?
You gotta go to
The
that.
creek
Did it?
didn't get any,
Is it okay?
it's fine.
Okay. So the floodplain is obviously a large barrier.
The floodplain up north
Yeah,
and how it impacts you all?
the bridge is that's where it all starts.
Okay. Do you have any context about like north of that bridge, what has been done in terms of work on the floodplain and how it's impacting further down?
The Corps has completed a project in the last 5 years that went all the way from the tunnel, all the way through Wyandotte County, pretty much terminating just a little bit upstream of the drive-in theater.
Okay.
The section immediately adjacent to I-35, they haven't really done much with that I'm aware of.
Okay. Any other thoughts on flood risk and how it shapes the future of downtown? Okay. I will move on to the next question that's talking about investment and momentum. If the city can focus on just a few actions or investments to move downtown forward, what do you all think that they should be? What would create visible momentum? What would make businesses, developers, or residents feel more confident? And what trade-offs should the city be thinking about when you're thinking about investments downtown?
By investing, does that include incentive packages the city would offer?
Anything that they would have kind of out there.
'Cause I think historically, this board's been concerned about the city's aggressive use of tax increment financing and incentives that have an impact on our finances as well as other entities like the Shriners and schools.
Sure.
And I can recall some years ago now, working with the state on budget issues. I think it was probably before your time, John, a long time ago. And I recall the representative from the state was kind of startled at the percentage of properties that were tipped, and whether a project has merit or not is not the issue. The effect of whatever the city might do on other entities, I think, is critically important for this entity and others.
Sure. Thank you. That's for any other thoughts to other people?
I just kind of echoing on Jim's point there, we have a small, we get the money from the properties in the Merriam drainage district itself. It's not the city of Merriam as a whole. It's limited property numbers that affect that, but that's right, we're there, the Turkey Creek for a certain period there. So Jim's point is, we look at what these tax increment financings are, I can't look at it now, we're on there, but out of our couple $100,000 a year in tax revenue, gross revenue, we have about 40,000 of it we never see, because it goes to tax increment financing and rebate back to the developers. So as those increase, that shifts. I mean, we still need a certain amount of money. So if those tax increment financing deals, that need for that money doesn't go away, it shifts it from the businesses and the developers to all of the other property owners that are in the district that are not being tipped. So if, we still, somebody gets a $10,000 tip, city still needs that money, so that $10,000 is then absorbed and passed on to the other property owners on there, so we can still have the same amount of money that we can do. So I guess one part of that, two things that we'll look at that as well. The TIF impact on there, and then the other impact it's gonna have on the drainage district. As these properties are taken away for flood control, will dramatically decrease what our tax base is, as those go from entities paying taxes to, city-owned property that are exempt from taxes. So my concern on there is, I roll more on there is, what are these long-term implications gonna be? What is our tax base gonna look like? And how much money is gonna be required to maintain the creek as it is now, or if adding more expense based upon what the projects are. So that's really one concern on board shares that as well. As property leaves the tax rolls, that shifts that tax. The need doesn't go away. It shifts that tax to the other taxpayers that are in there. And while the overall revenue may not change, it's getting shifted to taxpayers that aren't tax abated, that aren't owned by the city, from those, and that could have a significant impact on on what those are. And there've been several properties this year on Merriam, that have been taken down
Sure.
on there. Marble, is it Brigden, Marble, whatever that was, did live.
The IT place.
Yeah, IT place and Bakers that did the, sinks and stuff like that. That property now, whatever those, you know, the portion of that is gone. Now with those properties being, leveled, there's no tax base there anymore.
And possibly in the future, if they take that land away as part of a retention right there on the corner of the creek, there will never be any tax
Okay.
collected on that. So, you know, loss of a tax base to, again, maintenance never goes away.
Sure.
It only gets more expensive, and we've been revenue neutral for, is it 5 years? So we managed to do that for 5 years, but if the tax base goes away, it's gonna, everything's gonna go up.
So you
Well, I
guys are
think-
kind of all speaking to trade-offs, right? Like
Right.
if the city, so,
Well, I'm not sure it's a trade-off, it's just that it's more of an absolute.
Yeah.
Because at the same time, we anticipate, we've talked about this, that in fact, the drainage district will be actually asked to do more. So our costs go up and our sources of revenue go down. And that's kind of that's a double whammy.
yeah,
Or at least potentially, I mean, that depends on how it's structured, but,
right.
but if properties are taken off the tax rolls and other properties are TIFed, and the drainage district has to come up with X $1,000 more or hundreds of $1,000s more a year to pay for it, there's no there there.
Sure.
Doesn't have to do that way.
Yeah.
The only, at that point was to increase what the levy is, to shift that levy to the other taxpayers. Our only source of revenue is, you know, real estate taxes, and then some motor vehicle taxes from personal property taxes from the businesses that, they've got, you know, automobiles and stuff like that that are registered in the business, name and entitled and registered. We get some revenue there, but it's nominal on there. So as we look at this project, there's no, and these other projects get tipped, well, there's sales tax and other revenue that the cities get, the state gets, the county get on those, the drainage district gets none of that. It's all real estate taxes is what we're funded by.
Sure.
And there's no other, statutorily, any other way for us to get any revenue. I mean, we can't say we're gonna have a, you know, drainage district sales tax or something like that. I don't think that exists, statutorily on there. It's just gonna be the revenue from the, you know, associated businesses, and as those businesses decline or go away because their properties are purchased, then that further reduces there. But like again, I said a couple times, that tax need just gets shifted to the others. Businesses going away does not in any way decrease our cost to maintain that deal. It shifts that cost to the other taxpayers that are still in the district.
And we have caps, we can't just tax as freely as we like to.
I was gonna bring up, just to kind of dovetail or expand what John was talking about as far as, tax base. The Merriam Drainage District also represents or has territory in Shawnee. So, that needs to be taken into consideration.
Sure, yep. Thank you for
Not a
being
large
able to do that.
portion, but
Yeah.
a small portion.
Yeah, for sure. Is there any other thoughts on this section of questions? Otherwise, I'm gonna move on. Okay. So our next section, talk about questions that we're asking property owners or anyone with real estate interests downtown. Tell me about your property interests in or near downtown. What do you own or manage and for how long? We've kind of heard a little bit about that, but has anyone not shared something that kind of would relate to this question? Are you the only one that owns property downtown?
As far as I know.
In this group here? Okay. Can I ask a couple questions since you're a property owner then?
Sure.
Have you made improvements in recent years? Why or why
Yes.
not? And how has that influenced your decision? What's influenced your decision to reinvest in your property?
I just like nice stuff. So, I put on a new roof, had all my stucco repaired, painted my building. To do the new roof, I had to, have a deck ripped off. I have a bi-level roof, so there's a walkout deck build a new, composite type deck. And, so my building's one of the nicest looking ones down there.
Yeah, that's a lot of work. Awesome, thanks for sharing. How do you view your investment, or I guess we can even expand this, the drainage district's investments downtown? How do you view, the investment outlook for downtown Merriam properties today? How much does the flood risk affect investment, financing, or any redevelopment decisions? What would increase your confidence in downtown investment?
I would just say for some of my clients that are down there, they're making plans to leave because of the uncertainty.
Sure.
They've gotta find someplace to go and they can't wait on there, so they're making plans of where they're gonna go, and the uncertainty of what this project is driving their decisions to not invest in their businesses, down there and look at investing elsewhere.
Sure. It's good to know we have not heard that yet, so. Does anyone else have thoughts on that? What would increase your confidence in reinvesting in downtown, or the drainage district reinvesting in downtown?
I think we've already touched on that, and that's pretty much
That's
over
it?
by the
Yep.
railroad bridge.
Okay, perfect. All right, I'll move on to the next question, thinking about redevelopment interests. What types of redevelopment or interests do you think are realistic downtown? And what's currently holding any of those opportunities back? Is it really just focused on the floodplain and figuring out that, or, what kind of projects do you think are most viable in terms of redevelopment, downtown? Are there partnerships or incentives that would help be feasible? Are developers or businesses showing interest in the area that you all are aware of?
I don't know if any developers. Do you?
Do you think any certain type of redevelopment downtown is most realistic, or, what you all would want to see down there? I know we've talked about restaurants, event spaces, is there anything else? Keeping the historic integrity of the buildings, renovating?
Yeah.
That's kind of where you guys are thinking in terms of reinvestment, redevelopment? Am I missing anything?
You can't just talk it there, it's, you know, that stretch provides a tremendous amount of service businesses that are used daily by many people throughout the whole county and the whole metropolitan area. The auto service industries, what Dan's company does, and everything else. And again, not having any property there, just speaking to clients who've got properties there. What's being done to try to keep them there versus chasing them out?
Any other thoughts on this? Otherwise, I'm gonna move on.
To me, standing on the outside, it appears that the city already has in mind that they don't like what has been there historically. They have periodically gone along and purchased properties for the purpose of redevelopment, which tells me that what was there, whether it was the historic nature, whether it was the businesses themselves, they thought they could do better.
Sure. It's a good perspective, yeah.
Yeah, get back to the old community center, that was, that had been around for a long time. Irene French,
Yeah.
that used to be a school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe heard that, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, we used to have a free meeting room there.
Yeah. That's why we did, that's why we did up here.
Dang it.
Yeah.
Now we have cookies.
Yep.
Yeah, we could get cookies.
Perfect, thank you for saying that. We haven't, this is part of this whole thing is hearing what different perspectives people have, so I appreciate that. We're gonna move on and keep rolling. I have one more slide and we'll just kinda, shoot through these questions. Excuse me, we're gonna skip that number 4 since we kinda already talked about it. So number 5, thinking about market signals. What's your read on the housing market or opportunity near downtown? Do you think there's demand for apartments downtown, condos, or I know you said you didn't want mixed use, which would be like business on the first floor. What income levels do you think household types are most realistic given land values and flood constraints downtown? Do you think there's an opportunity for housing? Do you think there would be an interest? Because when we talk about things like, we've brought up different uses that we maybe want downtown, there's obviously a correlation between housing and, more, real estate or commercial development, so just wanted to see if you guys had thoughts on housing downtown.
I think housing downtown's a bad idea.
Okay.
We don't want it to be more congested with more, Merriam Drive's already busy at morning and evening rush hours. And plus, me living down there, sure, we have a quiet crossing at Johnson Drive, but how many times does the trained engineers ignore that and blow their horn? And, it's just not a smart thing to put residents close to between the creek and the railroad tracks. It's, they blow their horn whether they're supposed to or not. Plus it's loud, it just kinda shakes the whole area, so. It's not a very good
Very
idea.
loud.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, with that, and then with the crossing there, the railroad crossing, if you added, I don't know, an arbitrary number, 500 more cars, or 100 more cars there, 200 more cars there every day, trying to get home at 5 o'clock when those trains come by, it's gonna make it even worse. So, and I think the whole on the metro is, everybody's trying to follow the fad of what's going on everywhere else in the country.
Sure.
And I don't know if Kansas City is ready for that, or if the people really want that, or if it's just a thing where they're trying to push it through because it's what's hot right now.
Sure. That's
Like,
a good perspective.
it's like bike lanes downtown. Nobody uses those. There's not enough people on bikes to warrant losing a whole lane of major streets. You might get 50 people a day on like Broadway that use it, maybe, and you've lost a whole lane of traffic and a whole lane of parking, because it's a fad to try to make it a bikeable city, and that's a thing right now. I think they think about more what the people want versus what the city wants. I guess that's what this is about. Huh?
Leading municipalities
Yeah.
suggest that crap down to the cities.
Yeah.
Sure. That's good perspective though. We just wanted to kind of get your pulse. You guys obviously are more connected to downtown, that's why we're trying to hear what you have to say. But thinking about housing, and I get the perspective about the railroad being loud too. I mean, if that's something that can maybe be addressed too, maybe that would be a reason why.
Well, they've addressed it with the quiet crossing, but, the engineers ignore it and blow their whistle.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
goodness.
they've tried to address it, but it's been unsuccessful thus far.
Sure.
I would like to know how Olathe got them to do what they did out there.
Elevated the trains.
Yeah.
They've done that in some other small towns in Kansas, I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be a great idea.
I don't know what the magic button is, but if they
Right.
started back at the other end of old downtown, and they raised it up, and then went through the crossing, and then they took it back down before the turn. I don't know what the elevation requirements for a train is, or what the steep, what the angle has to be for that, but I'm sure if they raised it up and took out the bottom at the same time, they could figure something. But it's millions of dollars.
Right,
Yeah, really.
yeah.
Sure. Well, they did it at 75th Street, years ago, when they took, you're crossing out at 75th Street by
Mhm.
I-35. And they put I-35, raised I-35, lowered it to get the bridge and stuff, the train out of that.
Then at the same time, they could fix that bridge, the railroad bridge.
There
Yeah,
you go, partnership,
there it
right?
goes, the railroad.
Partnership.
It's all in the
Shop.
You
railroad.
guys are,
All in one shot.
bringing all the ideas.
All in one
Yeah.
shot. Yeah, and I live a block away from Dan, and I live, it's a weird, this might be getting off the thing. It's a weird audio anomaly, and I'm a sound guy. I make noise for a living, so
Oh, cool.
these things, I hear these things.
What do you do for a living?
I own an event production company, so sound and lighting for
That's
bands
so
and
cool.
corporate events and all that stuff,
Yep.
so. The bedroom of my house, second level, is, and the sidewall faces the railroad tracks, and I am just behind the church parking lot, right? So I'm a city block off of that. And times at night, before they became a silent crossing, the train would come through there, and the way the land works, it's kind of like a holler depression that comes up like this and then stops at the end of my block. It's kind of like a cone.
Like an amphitheater.
Yeah, and so it funnels all that noise, right? And then
That's
the whole
wild.
side of my house is a sounding board. So that amplifies the noise.
Sure.
And I literally one night took out my meter, and in my bedroom at 2 o'clock in the morning, it was 110 dB. I'm not kidding you. I have a calibrated app on my phone, and I held it up because I just happened to be up, and I was like, I wonder what that is. Holy goodness.
Yeah.
And so since they put that whistle, this hornless crossing in there, it's a lot better, but you still get the
it has-
random guy that has
yeah.
the train mountain whistle that's louder than everything.
Right.
But,
Well, it's hard because there's so many trains coming through there.
it's
too.
one, it's
52.
52 a day,
Yeah,
or
24
So
hours.
24
maybe,
hours,
you
every
know,
15 minutes.
40 of them follow the rule, but maybe those ones
Yeah.
that don't, you know.
And it's worse now because you get used to the quiet
quiet.
crossing, and
Yeah.
then here comes the loud one. And when it's loud all the time, you kind of get more
Yeah, you
used
get
to
it.
it.
Right? You
But
don't even
now,
notice it.
it's actually worse now.
I think that they could spend a lot more effort on getting that taken care of, because that, again, that affects a lot more people than a potential flood that hasn't happened in almost 30 years.
Since
98.
1998.
And again, that's not the pinch point. The pinch point is the railroad. So it sounds like
Yeah.
the railroad needs to
Time to talk to
get on board, figure out a way to figure that out.
Yeah. They're like another branch of the military, I've been told. Just hard to deal with.
Drainage districts do have authority over railroads.
Okay, there
I do
you
wanna
go.
remind everybody, we're about the only company.
We do?
Yes.
The one
You could take out the railroad bridge if you wanted to.
well, let's take it out.
Why are we doing that?
What the hell, we've been screwing around. Why
You've been holding out on them for so long.
Jim will have much more interesting things to report on.
Yeah.
next
Oh, yeah.
year as well.
Right?
My only comment on housing is that in metro areas, where all the people gonna come from with all the apartments already built?
Sure. Is
Yeah.
there a need?
I mean, Kansas City is blowing up right now with everything, as far as population and all this stuff, and there's lots of people from the coast are moving here like crazy because they figured out it's a great place to live, it's affordable, and it's only a 3-hour flight either way, or a 4-hour flight, you know, depending on where you're going. And they could bring their $500,000 data job or, you know, programmer job and live here and live like a king versus barely being able to make it on a coast. So, there's a lot of people moving here, but I think the over-under has a place.
Sure.
And I think some of it's cool, but I think there also needs some of the older infrastructure needs to be saved and just fixed up. I mean, I'm not for tearing everything down and just building new on a, you know, well, let's do this. It's hot right now. Has a place, but not everywhere.
Sure.
I just wanna let you observations where I've been bumping around development and real estate a long time. And what is incredibly imaginative and creative becomes kind of passé and then becomes a cliche. And then I've been hearing for probably 20 years, this apartment craze just can't keep going on. And I've known people that, you know, contractors and developers that kind of started backing away because they thought it was gonna start to fade. It hasn't. But I don't know quite what to attribute that to. But you know, personally, I think if there isn't an organic market for it, I'm not sure it's wise of the city to try and create one, because that doesn't always work. I mean,
That's a good insight.
if there isn't
Sure.
already a demand for it, creating it, usually, unless of course you subsidize it dramatically, which is basically using somebody else's money to make it attractive. That carries with it political and economic difficulties.
It's a good insight. Any other thoughts on housing? Otherwise, we're gonna move on to our last couple questions, if that's okay. We good? Okay. So is there anything about downtown Merriam's future that you think the planning team needs to understand that we have not talked about? Have we hit on everything that you think that, needs to be kept in mind throughout this planning process? And if you don't think of it now, I'll make sure to get my email, you have my email contact. When we send the transcript, you can always, reply to us and we can make sure to address.
You've got it too, don't you?
Yeah, so, if you don't think of anything now, it's totally fine. We've been talking for a little while, so sorry to put you on the spot. But unless there's anything that you can think of, are there other people that we should be talking to downtown that we may have missed that we didn't hear from yet? I didn't, expand upon the different groups of stakeholders. Would you mind pulling that up, Scott, and just kind of overviewing the different groups that we've talked to thus far and we still have to talk to?
Yeah, so we've talked to the technical and infrastructure group that Kara referenced earlier, you guys, excuse me. We have a schools, community service, nonprofit faith group that we've spoken with, an institutional memory group that's former mayors, city administrators, a development and market reality group, a neighbors and residents group, the DMP leadership group, and a downtown business group.
Are you in that downtown business group?
I think it's cause you were in this group that they didn't put you in both.
I have been going to the downtown partnership, but
When
you
are
haven't
there-
talked, you
when are-
haven't talked to us.
Well,
yet.
we've reached out to the people on here. We've only gotten 2 of the 4 to commit. I'd love to connect with you if we can get to, like, tell us when a board meeting is and we can maybe do it that way.
I'm not a board member, I just
Okay.
go to it.
Sure. Okay. But the DMP group is definitely one that's on our radar. We're just trying to figure out scheduling and things like that.
It sounds like there's some people on there that you listed that probably don't matter what they think. I mean, really, the DMP group, the drainage board, and the city council, and the residents of Merriam is pretty much people
We've
you need
covered
to
the
be
groups.
talking to.
Yeah. Well, if you think of anyone specific that, we didn't list names, but you can always send us an email and be like, hey, they would have a really good perspective, like, you should reach out to them. We would love to hear that. And then lastly, just to wrap this up, the planning process is intended to produce real recommendations that are gonna go to the council in November. If you had one message for the steering committee or the council about this downtown master planning process, what would that be? Like I said, at this point, there's been we're just listening, we're trying to get perspectives, no decisions on anything's been made.
I would say don't get in a hurry. I think there needs to be further consideration, kind of stuff we touched on.
Sure. Thank you.
Real-time transparency with the people who are gonna be affected directly and with the partners like us. We seem to have a hard time on perception of getting information when we ask for it.
Sure.
Well,
You're right on.
Yeah.
And there should be more public input. As far as I went to the first steering committee meeting that was held, there's no public input. I think there should probably be public input because I brought a couple business owners to see and they couldn't voice their opinion.
We are having a public workshop in June, so be on the lookout for that. Information about date, time, location will be disseminated, and that's totally open to the public. So our team will have people there to kind of get your feedback and kind of tell you about where we're at and where we're going and that kind of thing. So we'll make sure to get you all that information about that meeting later in June.
I think kind of to reiterate what John and I both said and others, whatever takes place needs to be financially neutral to the other stakeholders or just community at large. Because I'll take the drainage district out of it. If there's redevelopment in downtown Merriam that sucks part of the lifeblood out of Shawnee Mission schools, you're shooting yourself in the foot. That's the school district, is why people moved to this part of the world in the first place, in large measure, not entirely, obviously. But to put it more directly on the drainage district, being a little bit, being a lot flippant maybe, but you know, I think it'd be disappointing to have someone say, look at the swell stuff we did to the harm of the drainage district, somebody else had to pay for it. That's a pretty easy decision, but not necessarily a good decision. So I think, there needs to be kind of a fiscal impact thought taking place at all times. And then, it's what I'm hearing, and I'm not painfully obvious, I'm not an engineer, but, I think there's a growing concern that the flood issue is maybe not much of an issue. It's kind of turning into a solution in search of a problem. That's right.
I haven't heard that yet, so I appreciate that. Do you have anything to share, thoughts? You've worked with the drainage district for a long time. Not to put you on the spot.
The magnitude of the core project is substantial. And it is something that was in a direct response to the event in 1998, the big Chiefs deluge, caused problems all over the area. You know, you were asking about residential areas, whether flooding was a problem there, and my mind immediately went to the plaza. I'm like, flooding's a huge problem at the plaza, but that doesn't keep people from living down at the plaza or having businesses. It's my job is to take care of all these problems, so I don't want to minimize them or say you never have to deal with them. But if you were to provide $30 million to the city and say what's the best way to spend it, would be building walls which close off the creek to any public access whatsoever, the right decision. And I guess that's for others to decide, and I'll just maintain whatever's left. But I kind of struggle with the magnitude. You know, it seems easy for people to spend federal dollars because there's not that mental attachment to your federal taxes that there is to, you know, raising a levy or the mill rate. So you gave the drainage district $30 million to do, or maybe probably come up with something different. Core is a very specific mission.
Thank you. Does anybody have anything else to share? Otherwise, we are done with our questions for you all.
I guess I got one thing, because somebody that was with me at that first steering committee meeting.
Yep.
He asked me, he's like, why, and he didn't know their names, but I know their names, so why is Scott Miller with Drake Development and Bob Johnson with used to be the DDR development area, why are they at the table helping to make decisions about downtown at these steering committees? They should not, that's some kind of collusion, that's not right.
I don't have an answer how they got to be there. I know that there's a market and reality like stakeholder interview that we're doing, so I don't know if it was like a conflict they couldn't make the times that we were trying to propose or how that came to be, but I can definitely pass
Well,
it
they
on.
participated in the meeting, in the
exercise.
game, to make decisions, and so.
Yeah, I can pass that on.
That seems, like some collusions going on.
I'm not aware of any, but I can pass along your answer. Anything else to share? Otherwise, we are done, and I think your meeting's probably over, so you can all enjoy your evening.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for coming out.
Absolutely, we'll get you that transcript, and I will get you some business cards as well, just with our contact information if you have anything else that you think of that you wanna reach out, and then we'll definitely make sure to send out when that, when we have the graphic created for the, public meeting later in June. So you guys are aware, and you can hopefully come and give us some more feedback, invite all your friends, so. We appreciate you all being candid. I wanted to say just one thing at the end, just to let you all know you know, all this is off the record, no one's name, like I said, is attributed to anything. And just wanted to reiterate again that we're all just listening at this point, there's no decisions that have been made on anything, so.
Well, I jump in, you understand this is a public meeting as far as we're concerned, so
Correct.
anything that goes on here, any of the records that we obtain as a result of this, we have to disclose. if
Absolutely.
requested.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely share that transcript. We should send it to you, Rebecca?
Yes, please.
Okay, we can definitely do that, so.
If we're all finished up, then I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:19. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all again so much for your
Thanks
time.
for coming and
We
hearing
really appreciate
our-
it.
Comments.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
It is difficult sometimes to discern internally the
Dan,
difference between.
Is it a fair guess,
personal
maybe the
opinion
better
and
word
my
is
opinion
conflict of interest
versus your
in collusion, because they stand to financially benefit from the
I
development?
mean, wouldn't it just be safe to say, if you're, along a body of water, you're gonna get flooded eventually? Eventually, it's gonna happen, no
I'm
matter
gonna
what
give you
you
one of
do.
these, if you would
It's
mind
already
emailing me, I'll
gonna
pass
be
your
happening.
contact
It's
on
gonna
to our
happen.
engineers for the
Well, the
project.
levee's ready,
They
so
probably will
just
have
plain
questions,
as
I'm
the
sure.
100-year
McClure,
Oh,
is
whatever.
in engineering.
Okay.
Yep, yep. So, thank you, it was so
Yeah.
nice to meet you.
Yeah, I meant conflict of interest, not collusion.
Sure. It's all good, thank you so much.
In spite of the fact that-
So nice to meet you. Thank you so much
Thank
for the
you.
feedback, I really appreciate it.
Do you have a business card, an extra one?
Yep, I do, thank you. I'm
Yeah.
Kara, by the way.
Karen, nice to meet you. I'm Billy.
Nice to
I'm
meet
a
you.
very involved citizen in a lot of these. You've probably seen me before.
I think I've seen you, yep. Thanks for coming.
Has anyone pointed out that there are 10 inlets that bring water upstream of downtown Merriam? that the
I'm
city
pretty
built?
sure the engineers have record of that
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
they, over the last 50 years or so, you'd probably know the timing better than I would, but those were constructed under I-35 and the railroad. They bring water west.
Sure.
And it all has the bottleneck going under that railroad bridge.
Interesting.
So if
I'm pretty
those-
sure they have record of all that stuff. That's not my thing, but yes, that's something that they're looking at, so,
Okay.
awesome.
Was there a conflict of interest disclosure that was required of committee members before they were put on?
I feel like there was, but I could check to make sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
That'd be good, to at least have a document there,
Yeah.
which members are own development companies are
Sure.
part of them.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, nice to meet you. Thank you.
Yeah,
nice
you're
to
welcome.
meet
Greatest
you.
board meeting. See you around Merriam.
Awesome. Thanks so much.